In this video, we're going to have a look at some of the new updates that came out as part of the June 2023 Power BI feature update, including things like the new card visual, the new tenant settings that are available, as well as this new developer modes in Power BI Desktop. All of that and more. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, my name is Fernan, and welcome to the Solutions Abroad YouTube channel, where we cover tips, tricks, and best practices when working with Power BI. I upload new videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when a new one is out. So let's have a look at what came out this month, starting with the new card visual, which is now currently available in preview. So what that means is that you need to make sure you need to be on the latest version of Power BI, as well as enabling it in the preview options in order to use it. And at first glance, this sort of looks like a more intuitive and more customizable version of the multi-card visual. So on the surface, it lets you add multiple measures and calculations within this one visual instead of creating multiple cards individually. And it looks like it gives you a lot of, various customization options, like being able to customize, some elements of the shapes, or maybe adding some transparency values. And there's even some ways for you to show or customize how blanks are being shown in these cards. There are other things available in this. There are other features that are available with this new visual, like being able to add background images or using the accent bars, and they're quite extensive. So I'm gonna try and cover them in a separate video, just because I'm really interested in what we can do. There are other interesting things in this feature as well, like being able to add accent bars, being able to add background images, and these can, there are lots of opportunities for customization here. So I really want to cover this in a separate video so we can fully tackle, what this visual actually has to offer. So Data Hub has now been officially rebranded as the OneLake Data Hub. So when you go to Power BI Desktop on the ribbon, you will see that OneLake Data Hub is now available. And the concept with Data Hub is that it lets you reuse items like data sets or data flows that is already available in your tenant for your reporting. But now with this OneLake Data Hub, it extends it towards the other Fabric items, like your lake houses or your warehouses, so that you can use them within your reports. The on-object interaction feature has also been updated, which now allows you to reattach those build windows into a pane on the right hand side. Now personally, I find this super useful, and that's because in my current experience, although it makes logical sense to have the sort of build options to where the visuals are, most of the things that I want to do are more in depth, which normally would require me to go to the right hand side pane and then going back to the build pane in the visual, and it sort of becomes a little bit confusing. But now you have this ability to reattach it on the pane as a pane, which makes it a lot easier to kind of work with without having to go back and forth between the visuals and then the right hand side pane, which makes or would make my life a lot easier. You can enable this feature directly on the pane itself. You can toggle this on the ribbon as well, or in the options menu. And if you don't know anything about on-object interaction and how it works, I did cover it in a separate video, so go check that one out if you haven't yet. And also another thing that they added in this on-object interaction is the ability to modify your conditional formatting directly in this on-object panes. New tenant settings that come out in the future will always have this new tag, which lets your tenant admins easily distinguish what new features are being added. Especially crucial because obviously we have this new Fabric rollout that has come out, and adding these new settings, more settings than what we already have, can be quite confusing and difficult to keep track of. And just having these new tags make sure that if and when new updates are being rolled out, that the tenants are aware of what's being added. Along with this is the introduction to the new tenant admin settings API. So this lets you query or get via REST API all of the tenant settings that you have for your tenant with just one call. This is really handy if you're trying to monitor, what's going on and what settings you have enabled within your tenants. And if you're not really sure about what REST APIs are and how you can take advantage of them, I do an introduction session in one of my videos. So I will link it somewhere in the video now or in the description box below. You can now embed visuals from your organizational apps into your PowerPoints as part of this storytelling in PowerPoint features in PowerPoint. So again, this one was a feature that was released a few months ago, and it lets you kind of pick out the visuals that you want to embed into PowerPoint slides so that you avoid having to create sort of static screenshots when presenting data to your customers. And I didn't realize that that didn't work if your reports were in this organizational apps, but now you can do that from those apps as well. They've updated the feature that lets you edit your data models directly in Power BI service. So basically, this means that any layout changes that you've made within your reports will be saved for sort of future sessions. And I don't see any clarification on what the layouts mean, so I would assume this would mean like your page sizes and ratios, or maybe how your filters are collapsed or expanded, or maybe the layouts for the data model. I'm not really too sure, but just be aware that when you do all of these in the service, they will be saved in the service. However, if you export them out into a Power BI file, those changes will be lost. The admin monitoring feature is now in public preview, and it lets your tenants monitor the sort of usage and adoption rates of your reports within your organization. I do have a video covering this report. I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but it covers sort of what kind of insights you can get from these reports and how you can access them. So either I will leave a link here somewhere, or it's available through my Patreon if you want to have early access. A new series for auditing and monitoring has been added into the Power BI guidelines within the kind of Power BI documentation site. And these guides are super useful because it gives you some insights on some of the things that Microsoft recommends when it comes to implementing Power BI solutions. So although this auditing and monitoring article has been recently added, there's also a bunch of other articles that are super useful, including, recommendations on how to set up your data model or how you distribute your reports to your users. So I'll leave a link to all of the best practice guidelines documentation in the description box below. And lastly, there's this Power BI developer mode that lets you save your files as Power BI files as opposed to the normal PBIX files. So you'll find this option when you hit the save button in the Power BI desktop. It'll give you the option to save it as a normal PBIX or as a .pbip file. And the difference is that a PBIP file saves your reports and datasets separately into their different folders, and it saves them in a plain text format. Saving these files in sort of plain text files allow you to use version control softwares like Git to properly manage the versions of your reports as you work with them and collaborate with your other developers, similar to how you would typically develop softwares. So this is actually very interesting for me because one of the key things that Power BI lacks, or at least lacked at the moment, is its lack of options when it comes to versioning your Power BI files or your Power BI projects, which means that it's not very easy to roll back into a previous version of it if you wanted to. So this is a really cool feature, and I'm really interested to see how this integration will happen with Git and how you can use it within your workflow. So again, like most of the preview features, if you need to use them, you need to make sure that you enable them from the preview options for this to show up when you save your file. And that's really it for the updates for this month. Now, as usual, I didn't cover everything that was released this month, only the ones that were pretty interesting to me. So if you want to know exactly what was released this month in greater detail, I'll leave a link to the blog post in the description box below. Thanks for watching. As usual, give this video a like if you found it useful. Give it a dislike if you didn't, so I know to do better for next time. Ask your questions in the comment section box below so I can help you and you can help others. If you really like this video, we have a Patreon page where you can support the channel and get exclusive perks like early access, demo files, and credits at the end of these videos. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.